This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Detroit is the greatest!
Straight up light you on fire for a Coney dog right now.
Darren McCarty comes back to Neiman in front of him. McCarty draws. McCarty in. McCarty scores! A magnificent goal! Darren McCarty!
Stafford takes, throws, end zone, Calvin, touchdown, Detroit Lions!
What's up, everybody? It's another episode of the Motor City Sports Rant. I am Jason Jarvie. Follow me on Twitter at Jarvie the King. Sitting across from me is a father that I want to wish a happy Father's Day. The Doc, John Macaroon. Happy Father's Day. How's it going, man?
Boom! Realest guys in the room, how you doing?
I'm fabulous.
That's my Father's Day gift to you. I'm not going to make fun of you for playing that.
Man, I had a great Father's Day. If you're a sports fan, there was no better day, really, in my recent memory than Father's Day. I literally got up around 11, got to have breakfast, and then the sports day got rolling for me, man. I watched an hour pregame for the Tigers. That segued right into the golf and all the controversy. That segued right into Game 7. Meanwhile, I was watching on the television, and the computer had WWE Money in the Bank. You had a great Game 7, the post-game. So all in all, it was just a great Father's Day with family, and wow. All I could say was, wow, what a day. I couldn't believe it.
Did you actually spend it with your family, or were you just sitting in front of the TV the entire day?
Off and on, during lulls and things like that. I take the kids outside, they take naps and stuff like that. So, my wife asked, she's like, is that what you want to do, is just watch sports? I was like, well, if I couldn't golf, then I want to stay at home and watch sports.
Would your wife get mad at you if you just sat in front of the TV the entire day? While you had, family over?
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah, that's what happened. So I tried to be responsible, but I definitely checked into a lot of sports. There was so much going on. It was just I told myself, I'm like, man, it was kind of a hot kind of day.
It was very hot, and yeah, as you said, it's a busy sports day.
Yeah, I was telling myself, I'm like, wow, if days like that on a Sunday could be like that, I would take it all day, twice on Sunday, man. It was great. I had a great time all around. My Father's Day was nice. How was your weekend?
I had a pretty solid weekend. I kind of need a break from my weekend. It was pretty packed. Saturday, I went up to Midland for a graduation party. Had a pretty good time. They had a human foosball, which that was the first time I've ever done that. I scored a couple goals, got scored on as a goalie as well, but it was a good time. Had a Frankenmuth dinner. The chicken. Have you had Frankenmuth dinner, John?
I have.
How do you feel about the chicken at Frankenmuth?
Okay, I gotta remember. I think I went to Zender's. I don't think I went to the one with the red wood on the outsiding.
But it's not something that you do all the time.
No, it's too much. Oh my goodness! I went there one time with a buddy. I enjoyed the full experience, going up and down the road there, kind of doing the thing with the family and stuff like that with my buddy too. But the food was, family style. The chicken was good, but I don't know if I'm sensing that you're saying it's overrated.
The chicken is a bit overrated, but you go for the experience. And the sides are really good. I'm a big fan of their buttered noodles. Buttered noodles are the bomb. Mashed potatoes are awesome. And you get a guy with an accordion playing around you. After that, Sunday, Father's Day, just went over with the fam and hung out. Watched some sports on my brother's gigantic TV.
What's he rocking?
A 65-inch.
That's nice.
It's a delightful. We found out that it's actually taller than my father. Because I think one of my nieces was just like, oh, the TV's bigger than you, Papa. And he's like, no, it's not bigger than me. And then I was like, well, if you stand it on its side, it probably comes up to your shoulders. But then if you go by the actual way they measure TV screens, it is taller than him. So sorry about that, Dad. Happy Father's Day to you.
Lots to get to on this podcast, for sure. Definitely with Datsyuk, the Detroit Tigers, and their implosion over the last couple of days. But, for me, when I watch sports, I'm definitely checking online, too. So you said I have 5 phones. So I was using one on Sunday, checking around what people were into during the NBA Finals game. And a lot of people were trying to figure out what to do and do a couple different things, whether it be watch wrestling, whether it be watching Game of Thrones. And a lot of people were tweeting, please stop with the spoilers. Justin Rose, friend of the podcast, he was like tweeting out, like he got emotional. He was panting. He was sweating. He tweeted out, which got a response from your boy, Jake Chapman, who was like, please stop tweeting out spoilers. Now, I've never watched Game of Thrones. I've never watched the other one that's on, I think, A&E. What's the other one with the zombies?
Walking Dead.
Never watched that. So I got the report on Walking Dead from Adam. What is Game of Thrones all about? Why is everybody all up in arms about this show? I guess it's a Sunday staple. What channel is it on? I don't know anything about it. Nothing at all, other than a lot of people like it.
Game of Thrones is on HBO Sundays. They usually have 10 episodes a season that runs from usually April to next week is the season finale. It's based off of a book, which it's set in like a medieval type of realm, and it's a lot of fun. The books are a little bit long-winded. They're still fun. I've read the first 4 books, but where they are in the series, the series of books isn't actually done. The author hasn't finished it, and they're actually past where he's written in the series. So leading up into this season, we've seen there's been some sort of spoilers. Like if you've read the books, you know what's going to happen in the TV show. And this season has actually been really cool because nobody really has known what's going to happen. There's a lot of, for all you people who care, there's a lot of fighting. There's with swords and a lot of blood and gore. And there's nudity for all the people who actually like that kind of stuff. Women and males as well. I'm not sure if that'll turn you off, but not too much. But last night's episode was amazing. It was probably one of the best, if not the best episode of the entire series. I watched the NBA Finals last night, and I did not want the Cavs to win. And as soon as I saw LeBron James on the floor, like crying, that's when I turned it off. And I was like, okay, it's time for Game of Thrones. And within the first 15 minutes of Game of Thrones, this episode, it was so cool. There's dragons. There's dragons, and oh man, it was crazy.
Well, I guess then you would think that I know one character in Game of Thrones. You know how I know?
How?
Howard Stern got on the case of the Khaleesi because the Khaleesi would get naked regularly, and then I guess all of a sudden she decided to not want to get naked anymore, and Howard Stern would go on his show and be like, listen, you've already established yourself as a person that likes to get naked, so you better get naked. And when she came back and did it, he was like, see, all I got to do is request things, and it happens. He gave himself all the credit.
Daenerys Stormborn, mother of dragons.
The great Khaleesi got naked then, huh?
She got naked again, yep. She burned a whole bunch of people. I mean, spoiler alert, sorry, people. But she burned about 20 dudes who wanted to, make her a slave, essentially. So she burned them alive and then emerged from where they were all meeting. She was awesome. She was naked and she was unburnt. Because that's one of her things is she's quotes the unburned.
Okay, so because I do have HBO, I have the on-demand application, all that kind of stuff. And sometimes there's a little bit of lull here. So usually I'm listening to sports radio, listening to movies, stuff like that, maybe some wrestling on the network here at the office. But it's one of those is it one of those shows where if you watch the first episode, season 1, that you got to binge watch it? Is it a binge-watching show?
It is. It's a binge-watching show. They're hour-long episodes. And the tough parts is, and it's the same with the books. The books go through different points of view. Each chapter is a different point of view.
I don't read those books. I've never read those books or Harry Potter, none of that. I never read those book series that turn into shows. I'm not into any of that kind of stuff.
But this show is similar. It goes from different points of view. In the first season, it was a very narrow view between a couple different people. But I think I'm not sure if we're the 6th or the 7th season now. And there are so many storylines that it can't get confusing. And I've said there were a couple episodes this season where they would spend about 5-10 minutes on one character's storyline. And at the end of the episode, I'm like, nothing really happened. This was mainly just a bunch of dialogue, which at that time, it's still cool for fans. Can get a little bit boring, but it's a great series to watch, especially if you are into that kind of medieval type fantasy, shows.
Now, you got 1 hour and you got something to do. Would you rather watch an hour of The Walking Dead or an hour of Game of Thrones? How would you rate the two? What's your preference? 1 hour. You just got 1 hour to kill. You got somewhere to go. The wife's asking you out. Maybe you got to get her a present for the anniversary or something like that. You got an hour. That's all you got. What are you watching?
I guess I'd probably go Game of Thrones. I like both, I'm caught up on both of those shows. The one bad thing about both of those shows is there are episodes where you're prone for nothing to happen. Especially with Walking Dead, it can be an episode where they're basically just walking and nothing really happens. Game of Thrones, it does happen every now and then, but I'll take my chances with Game of Thrones.
Okay, sticking with the TV theme, did you catch any of the parts of the OJ show, Made in America?
I have not. I'm not an OJ guy. I think we talked about that before. I've definitely heard stuff about it, and it just, from what I can gather, is OJ is a crazy, crazy man.
I actually did some binge watching because, ESPN.
What part are you on?
I watched 4 and 5 before they came out. Once I heard that it was going to be streamed online, I watched a little bit of 4, but I got distracted a little bit. So Saturday evening, I watched 4 and 5 back to back, from midnight to 4 a.m. I just caught it on the phone.
God, 12 to 4?
Yeah.
On your phone?
On the phone and watching CNN a little bit. I was just kind of relaxing, vegging out. But the thing that kept my attention was they said that in some of the episodes later along that they were going to show some gruesome crime scene photos. My goodness, Jason, they went all the way. They showed photos of Nicole, photos of Ron, deep wounds, everything, like blood covered, the cut. They showed it all. And it's around an hour into the 4th episode. It was horrible.
Did they show that on when they show it on ESPN as well?
I don't know that part. I'm not sure. But what they showed online, gruesome, tough to see. And the episode 5 was unreal in that they were really hit home with the jurors. And basically, if you didn't watch it, the jurors said that in essence, with the subcontext, that even if they felt like OJ was guilty, they were gonna rule him not guilty to get back at L.A. for Rodney King. So a couple of jurors said that, you know what, you can think what you want, but hey, one juror was like, if the prosecutors did a better job of putting on a case, that we would have found him guilty. But hey, with the way they put the case up there, we found him not guilty. There's another juror. She was open. She was like, listen, we won. We did something here. They made it a bigger issue, and that they found him guilty. They found him not guilty to basically send a message.
It was
horrible.
It was a wrong way to think about
Exactly. Well, they only deliberated for 3 hours. The case was over 8 months. They deliberated for 3 hours. And what does that tell you? Did they really think about the evidence? Jason, 99.9% of the DNA evidence points to one guy, and that's Orenthal James Simpson. How do you look at that? And then the scene and the moment that grabbed my attention, and I think if you watch it will floor you, is they're done giving out the verdict. Everyone's kind of like, okay, they're seeing the reaction of the family. All of a sudden, they pan to Marsha Clark during one of those interviews, and she goes, one member of the juror number 6, gets up, puts his fist up in the air like this, and does Black Panther. She looks and she goes, what? She goes, they didn't know. He was mild-mannered. He put on the normal front that you get when a lawyer interviews someone for the juror, and he was mild-mannered. Come to find out, he was a former member of the Black Panthers in the past.
That blows my mind. I might actually have to watch this series now.
I would say...
It's kind of like the whole Making of a Murderer.
Yeah, I would say if you skip one, skip the first one, because it's about his history as a football player, how he grew to icon. 2, 3, 4, 5, really good stuff. It's actually, the story, but it's great documentary filmmaking. It is probably, and I agree with a lot of people that commented on Twitter, probably one of the best shows ESPN has ever put together. They're all 2 hours long, though. So I would suggest you do it on the phone because they cut out the commercials, and it gets down to an hour and 40 minutes. Watch it on your phone.
All right, I will. I'll definitely take a look.
Take a look and get back to me. If you want to just get right to the point, episodes 4 and 5 will get you there.
I want the entire experience.
Okay, then I would watch.
I've heard some good stuff from people that I hold into high regard. So I'll take a look and I'll watch episode 1.
Oh, I changed your mind.
Try to
Good.
get into the spirit of O.J. Simpson.
Okay,
crazy man.
All right, very good. Well, Jason, it happened. Everyone knew. We speculated about it. Pavel Datsyuk dropped the hammer. It was kind of really informal to do it at a camp or a high school type thing. It didn't seem to me, just based on the way he presented himself and the way it went down, that it was becoming of a guy like Pavel Datsyuk. This is a Detroit Red Wings, I would say legend almost. This is a guy that's been there for a long time, produced, won 2 or 3 Stanley Cups with the organization, but it kind of seems like he's going out with a whimper, standing up there at a podium at a high school. I know it's an esteemed high school. It's a camp that he's running and things like that, but I just felt like the way that he retired could have been done a lot better. And then Ken Holland had to come out and basically, give his thanks and things like that. But Pavel retiring was a little bit sad for me. At least.
I think part of that is because, I don't really see Pavel Datsyuk as that kind of a guy who goes for an entire, needs all the media there and to have like a crazy press conference. That's just not the kind of guy he is. And it's probably a little bit lower key because he does leave the Red Wings in an odd situation. It's it's very precarious as to what actually happened. What happened when they were signing the contract initially. I don't think he wanted to leave the Wings in a bad position, but whose fault is it? Or is it, I think it's just a mix of everybody.
No, there's one person at fault. I think the Red Wings got played by the agent of Pavel Datsyuk. Look at the money. He got paid a boatload of money up front in the first 2 years of the deal. I believe $17 million he got in the first couple of years of the deal. I think that his agent might have got into his Twitter, put out some kind of, nice comments and saying that, hey, I'm going to be here for the next 4 years and let's go do this. And I really believe that, listen, you got to remember that Pavel Datsyuk signed the contract with his Russian team while he's still under contract with the Red Wings. So it was speculated on quite a bit. I just don't think that people really believed that he was actually going to do it. And he actually pulled the trigger. He's going to make a boatload of money tax-free out there in Russia. But the part that a lot of people maybe have question with is he being genuine? Because you say that you want to play close to your family, but the team that he's playing for isn't necessarily right there close to his home. So what is it really going on?
He's not a continent away.
Right.
And I can't fault him for wanting to be close to his family. And I'm kind of actually surprised that so many people are upset that he is leaving, I get it, that he's backing out of his deal, that he signed his contract, so he should fulfill his deal. I don't get the hatred. I mean, the guy got us 2 Stanley Cups and he's prolonged our playoff streak. And we like to say, oh, we've been 25, 26 straight years. But why can we be okay with that, but then not be okay with
where I think the anger is drawing from is the fact that in this new salary cap era, he hits against you for $7.5 million. So that means you basically could have another player that produces.
That's not his fault, though.
It is not his fault.
It's not his fault for signing the contract. Even if the agent is the guy who created the deal and it was shady, you can't fault him for going and trying to get money.
That's a part where some people will say, well, we don't fault you for trying to we don't fault you for trying to go get money, but maybe you don't do a 4-year deal. Maybe you do 2 years, take the $18 million over 2 years instead of over 4. Maybe you lower the cap hit.
Well, that's where you run into your issue with the agent. And why would Ken Holland even give him that deal if he had any inkling that Datsyuk wouldn't, finish out his career or finish out the length of the contract?
So you're saying that Ken Holland maybe was thinking that he could have done it maybe 3 years ago, but then see the idea is, and why people are mad is that people think, well, didn't Ken Holland hear the rumors? Everybody was speculating that he could do it, so maybe you sign him to a 1-year deal. Why do you negotiate 4 years?
But I don't think he could have gone with a 1-year deal because
then you go 2
because the agent initially comes with he wants 5 years, so he had to go 3. To come somewhere close.
See, maybe I don't know if the Red Wing fans would have been willing at the time to let him go, but
no. And if we didn't sign into that deal back then, Ken Holland probably would have been fired by now.
See, and then what makes it tough was that he was a producer, but him and Zetterberg combined really didn't do as much. I don't really feel like he lived up to the end of the deal.
And I don't think that's something that you can't predict. That's how sports is. Yeah, you can't predict when a guy is going to kind of just fall off the face of the earth. Look at Larry Fitzgerald with the Cardinals. He's a guy who everybody thought was essentially done, and last year he came out of nowhere, had a really good season. I don't think anybody predicted that Datsyuk would be dealing with as many injuries as he has. We all know that he He keeps his body in good shape. He's the guy that you would want younger guys to model their work ethic off of.
Okay, so you're saying, you know what? You did your duty. We won cups. We enjoyed your time here. Thank you for your service. Go ahead, go along in peace.
The guy owes us nothing. It draws parallels to LeBron James as well. LeBron James, when he initially left Cleveland, he wouldn't have been able to leave Cleveland again without winning him a championship. He could sign with the Lakers tomorrow, and Cleveland wouldn't be owed anything. He got them that championship, and that's kind of how I feel with Pavel Datsyuk. Is he helped us win championships, so he owes us nothing.
Yeah, and I ran a Twitter poll at our Twitter page, at Detroit Podcast, one of the most interactive Twitter pages in all the land, but definitely in Detroit, so definitely check it out. We respond to everybody. We don't block anybody. We have a good old time. And I threw out a poll question. I said, what's your reaction to Datsyuk's retirement? Are you pissed, be gone, or congrats, thanks for the memories? And overwhelmingly, 89% voted and said, congrats, thanks for the memories.
Good, and that's how it should be. And I think true Red Wing fans will look at that and just congratulate them. Remember keep the memories of what Pavel Datsyuk was.
But now some people on our Twitter page, when I threw out, they responded and they said, well, maybe you should look at it differently. Maybe you should look at it like, fans were so livid with Sergei Fedorov, and all he did was take a contract that was offered to him and kind of shop it around when he was a free agent and said, hey, he went out and said, could I potentially get more? Or are you going to match it? And he went back to the Red Wings and said, I want to sign the deal that you offered. And then Mike Ilitch was offended that he did it, and he pulled the offer off the table. So people around town, when they look negatively at Sergei Fedorov, and then you turn around and you look at Pavel Datsyuk's situation and you make him a hero, I think some people were like, well, Sergei just did the same kind of thing, kind of tried to get the most money and actually wanted to stay with the Red Wings. So it's kind of interesting.
Part of that, I blame some of that on Mike Ilitch then for taking that deal off the table. I think probably the hard feelings are because Sergei Fedorov was still in the prime of his career.
He was trying to drive up the price, yeah.
And he went and played for another NHL team. Pavel Datsyuk is going to go play in the KHL, and we're never going to hear from him again. I mean, we'll see him during the World Cup of Hockey. We'll see him during the Winter Olympics. But more than likely, we're never going to really hear from Pavel Datsyuk again. All the Russian five that we used to have, how many of those guys do we actually ever hear from?
That's true.
Igor Larionov and Slava Fetisov, they're like bigwigs over in Russia now. We never hear from those guys.
So just in terms of Russian players, do you think that Datsyuk, you've kind of watched him throughout the prime of his career, do you think that Datsyuk was more impactful than Sergei Fedorov? Or do you see that guy like Sergei Fedorov in his prime, he was an outstanding forward, a guy that Scotty Bowman looked to and said, listen, you're a good defender. Hey, let's put you on defense. And he was willing to do it. And there's a guy, Sergei Fedorov, I remember watching him when the Wings were doing their thing, winning cups, and he was just awesome. He was an unbelievable player, pure speed, hands that were amazing. He could puck handle, and there's a great goal, I think, in the Washington series where he kind of skates up the wing there, does a little deke, boom, shoots wrist shot up in the corner there, and he was a great contributor and really, a solid piece to that Red Wing squad that got those cups.
I think Sergei Fedorov was a bigger presence when he was here, and I think he was more of a personality, where Pavel Datsyuk, I think, if you look at them skill and stat-wise, I think they're very, very similar. They can do a lot of the same things. Datsyuk just did a lot more quieter. He kept his mouth closed and went about business and did it. So, I mean, I think both of those guys are still, they're going to be held in high regard in Red Wing history for really forever. Datsyuk may actually kind of fly under the radar for people. Especially for people who are the old-time hockey fans. You look at back when we started getting good in the 90s.
Okay. No, I would say I'm kind of in your camp. I'm not heated that he's leaving. I am a little uncomfortable with the cap hit that we're kind of stuck with, and it kind of goes back and forth in that over the weekend you heard reports that maybe we could move the deal to Carolina, but we'd have to ship off Pulkkinen and somebody else. or I think it's Yurko or somebody
it's
else.
really, I think right now it's up to Ken Holland
Yeah.
as to how this phase really plays out. If he's able to trade away this cap hit and not really lose pieces for the future, people aren't going to really care that Pavel Datsyuk left.
But then earlier on Monday, you could hear reports that the trade of his contract is very, very unlikely. So it's going back and forth. People would just be really happy and satisfied if a team would take on his contract. And for people that don't understand, there is a salary cap, but there's also a salary floor. And there's some teams that don't meet that, and you get fined for that. So some teams have to take on contracts for their books, so to speak, in order to meet that floor. And so if you trade them off to a team like that, it helps them in a situation where they can, put some more money on their books, and then they can just, do away with it.
And we talked about it on the show a little bit today that I want to get it done. I think you need to trade this cap hit at all costs. And I think you take Dylan Larkin, Anthony Mantha, Andreas Athanasiou, and Peter Mrazek.
And roll with it, huh?
And anybody, aside from those four guys, you trade away anything to try and get rid of that cap hit.
Okay.
I'm fine. Polkin and Yurko, I'm fine, completely fine with either of those guys going. And I'd even be okay if you had to trade away one of either Gus Nyquist or Thomas Tatar. I think you have to, if you want to really reinvent this team, because that's what we're going to have to do. With no more Datsyuk and Zetterberg definitely in the twilight of his career, we're going to need more guys on this team. Dylan Larkin he's still growing up. He's going to be 20 this year. And we have a lot of young talent, but I think we need to go out in free agency to either get someone like a Steven Stamkos or a veteran scoring presence that can hold us over until Larkin and Mantha and Athanasiou really take the mantle and become the next Datsyuk and Zetterberg.
So what was the vibe of the conversation at the station today? Did some callers call in and maybe chime in? Was it positive or negative? What was your feel of the vibe of the reaction?
It was a pretty solid mix. It was pretty 50-50. There were people who, they'll always love Datsyuk, but they don't understand why he's not holding up his end of the bargain. Which, again, I said he owes us nothing. But I guess I can understand. It's you only look at, and I feel like it's the business side. That's what people they're held up on.
Do people not get I think people need to really, really understand the impact of the word less taxes. And I know personally, because now when I'm self-employed, I got to pay quarterly taxes. And when you write that check every 3 to 4 months, you're like, wow. And so I understand where if I could save that extra, for me, I could tell you that the quarterly taxes for the year will be $10,000. So that's what I'm paying out of my pocket, $10,000. And when you're self-employed, you look at it and you go, wow. Now imagine it on a much larger scale. Imagine if you could make, if your contract, let's just say, is $20 million, you're going to give half of it to the government. That's 10. Now you make $20 million over in Russia, you're going to keep $18 to $20 million. That's a lot of scratch. And so that's why a lot of athletes in town have residences, quote unquote, in Florida, condos, apartments, because there's no state income tax. It's a boatload of money. And so for those that think it's, that he should honor his contract and things like that, hell, he's done a great job for you. It's not like he's leaving us high and dry. It's one of those things where there isn't an attraction there to be closer to your family and to play in your comfort. It's one of those things where, everyone thinks that everyone comes over here and is like, woohoo, and they're down with the culture. But some people come here, work, and they decide that in my old age, I want to go back overseas and live a different kind of lifestyle. And for me, I can understand that. My parents were Middle Eastern. If they had the means to go back to the Middle East and live comfortably, they might have did it. And so I can appreciate people who think that. I know some people might get angry at that. Hey, you're taking the fruits of our labor. You're coming here, working here, and then going back and taking it there. So I could get that anger too.
And you're free to do whatever you want with the money that you earned. And if the Wings were to actually fight Pavel Datsyuk going over to the KHL, and somehow we got him to stay for his final year of the contract, do you really want a disgruntled Pavel Datsyuk for one more year. What are you going to get out of him? And for somebody who could possibly be have his number retired in the new LCA, why would you want to tarnish that legacy with fighting with him over 1 year?
No,
it seems petty.
It's just this whole new salary cap era thing is just, it hampers your team because it's $7.5 million is a large percentage. But, in terms of the return and what he's doing nowadays, I don't think he's going to make it through a season anyway. And you let the young guys produce what he was producing, and it's time to move on. And it's one of those things where I thank him for his time. He provided us with a lot of great memories. He was, he's known as the Magic Man, and he did a lot of magical things on the ice. I don't see, where what he did on the ice outweighs the way he's leaving. It's frustrating. It's annoying. But in my opinion, the good that he did, the cups that he earned with the Red Wings, the span of his career, long-lasting memories, it's all good in my book.
Yep. I'll always remember Pavel Datsyuk. Yeah. Let him go to Russia.
See ya.
Live out your dreams. Drink a bunch of vodka. Peace out. Pavel Datsyuk. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, the king has been summoned. The doc has a new segment on the Motor City Sports Rant, DetroitSportsPodcast.com.
Doc here for FanaticU.com, Detroit Sports official outfitter and the official outfitter of the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. If you're a fan of Detroit sports, if you're a fan of all the teams, the Pistons, Wings, Lions, Tigers, if you're a fan of Michigan or Michigan State, you got to check out FanaticU.com. Great outfitter. The online store, Jason, is outstanding. You can pick up hats, T-shirts, great gear. If you're a fan of Detroit sports, there's no better place to check out than Fanatic U. They definitely take care of us, a great sponsor, an early sponsor, and they've been supportive of the project, and we love to support those who take care of us here at the network. Go visit FanaticU.com, Detroit Sports, official outfitter. And now back to Jason and the Doc, Motor City Sports Rant on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Motor City Sports Rant, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. It's time for a new segment. The doc came up with it. I'm going to roll with it. It's called Summon the King.
That's right. Because, Jason, you have embraced the King moniker. I like it. I got to actually, I don't remember. How did you get the nickname The King?
It was an old, it was from high school. It's a long story.
It's a long story?
Yeah.
Did you ever tell it and I just didn't listen to it?
I did. I think I told it on a podcast on the radio station.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you off the air.
All right. Well, I'm going to summon the king because I want to tap into your sports knowledge. I know you got a lot of strong opinions, and this is what we call summoning the king. You see, Jason, I know that you're very knowledgeable in sports, so I got to get your opinions on a lot of things that happened over the weekend. So first things first.
Hit me, Doc.
USGA, final round of the U.S. Open. I guess Dustin Johnson, playing his final round, kind of had a situation on a hole where the ball kind of moved, and he summoned an official, like a good golfer should. And golf is an interesting sport in that a lot of people who watch can kind of chime in, call up, and get some things taken care of. You know, if you violate the rules, punishments have happened when golfers have done things inadvertently and they've been punished. Well, he gets an official, a ruling is made, and it's done. Well, come to find out, the USGA is just like, well, maybe he's going to be punished. So they tell him on the 12th hole, and it just sparked off a fury with other golfers like, what the hell is the USGA doing? What was your reaction to the whole USGA mess?
It's just golf is they've messed up a lot recently with a lot of their rulings. It's dumb. You know, on the 5th hole, he did the right thing. He had somebody come over, explained what happened, and he was like, "No, you're good. You won't be assessed any stroke." It would have been better if they would have been like, okay, they come back at least maybe in the 12th hole and say, you know what, we changed our mind and we're going to assess a 1-stroke penalty. That way he can at least finish the round knowing, you know, what's going to happen. You know, do I need to account for this 1-stroke penalty, or am I good at where I am? Obviously, it didn't really matter in the end because he had He was assessed the stroke once he went to the scorer's box, but by that time he had a big enough lead, and the other guy, Shane Lowry, choked his score away the entire day. I think he finished before 18. He finished with 3 straight bogeys. But it's just ridiculous. And you hear guys like Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods come out and kind of defend him. It makes no sense. They should have, in this day and age with instant replay, you should have a ruling almost immediately. There's no reason for there to be a delay, especially for the end of the round.
This is bad.
It was horrible.
Exactly, and I agree with you 100%. It kind of was starting to get talked about with Big Buzz. Imagine had he just been up by a stroke, and in the end they assessed him the penalty, but he had a big enough lead, and they really avoided a huge controversy. I mean, they're lucky enough though also that Game 7 happened yesterday, because if we didn't have Game 7 last night, this was what they would have been talking about on all sports radio, of what they did and how they could have completely screwed up the final in golf's probably their biggest major. And not just for Dustin Johnson, but also for Shane Lowry. Even though he was having a horrible day, what if he ends up 1 stroke behind and then they don't assess the stroke? He's gonna be pissed as well. It's just a bad situation all around. All right, King. Biggest story in the world of sports. It happened. Game 7 was phenomenal. It was the game that everybody wanted to see. Close with 5 minutes left. And in the end, Kyrie Irving hit the big shot. That's what everyone wanted to know, was which team was going to make the key play and make the right play. And in the end, Cleveland won the NBA title, satisfying all of Cleveland fans who were starving for a championship. Now, all the talk has been about LeBron James. He satisfied his promise. Now he can kind of move up in the upper echelon of the NBA rankings, and people are talking about that. But on the other end, some people, myself included, are kind of wondering what would have happened had this series played out a little differently, had maybe Draymond Green been allowed to, play Game 5, had Game 6 been called a little bit differently. What was your reaction to the NBA Finals as a whole, LeBron James winning the MVP, and, now this talk of LeBron potentially being top 5 all-time NBA talent?
My reaction is I hate LeBron James. But I'm not.
You're a dick.
I am. But I'm not going to deny that he is a great player. He's still, anybody who wants to compare him to Jordan they're still so far away. Jordan never lost a final. He won the finals MVP every time. If you want to point to, he was phenomenal this series, leading all players on both teams in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. It is mind blowing, but I know you look at what Jordan did in '93. I think he scored over 40 points in all 5 games. LeBron still has a long. He still does have a ways to go to really meet where Michael Jordan was, and I'm not sure if he ever will. And I'm not sure if that's actually maybe a good thing. You don't want to have to compare yourself to Michael Jordan. He's definitely doing it a different way. He had to initially go to Miami to win his first couple of championships, and then he came back, won it with Cleveland, and who knows if he's even going to be with Cleveland next season. He's definitely trying to carve out his own path. He may be trying just a little bit too much. When I was watching the Game 7 last night, I really, really wanted Golden State to win, and when Kyrie hit that, and it just seemed like Golden State couldn't hit a shot, it sucked. And then to see LeBron, when I saw him pounding on the floor, that's when I turned it off. I couldn't do any more. It would have made me mad. I remember when the Wings lost the finals to the Pittsburgh Penguins. I had to walk out of the room. I couldn't do with Sidney Crosby, and I feel the same way about Sidney Crosby that I do for LeBron James.
Didn't we rib you for some tear action going on for that? Was that you? Did we rib you for saying that, or we asked a question whether you've ever cried over a sporting event?
You did.
We ribbed you.
I did. I ribbed when Michigan State won when they went to the finals.
Oh, okay. But it wasn't over the loss to the Penguins.
It wasn't. No,
okay.
I was angry about that because
I was more angry. Yeah.
Sidney Crosby, who, whatever. Sidney Crosby, they're both on two different tracks in their careers. But LeBron James, great player. You can't deny it. And just like Jordan, I think with time, after he's gone from the game, people will look back, and then that's when you'll really go, LeBron James could arguably be the best player in basketball of all time.
Did you get a vibe, though, that the league, ESPN, television wanted Cleveland to win? I mean, it really felt like the hype before Game 7 was all about Cleveland and, what could happen, the drought.
Of course, because that's the bigger story. And it's funny because my wife, who, she follows all sports, but, she pretty much knows from what I share with her. And we were having a conversation in the car. I was like, well, history's going to be made either way. And she's like, why? And I said, well, if the Warriors win the night, they will have capped off having the best regular season record and having 2 straight championships. And if Cleveland wins, they'll be the first team to ever come back from the 3-1 deficit in the finals, and they'll win a championship for a team that hasn't won a championship since the 60s. And she immediately went, I know you don't like Cleveland, but I'm kind of rooting for Cleveland. And I think everyone really, probably the majority of America, was rooting for Cleveland last night, unless you're a diehard hater of LeBron like I am.
No, I was not officially rooting for Cleveland. I was rooting for Cleveland for other reasons. I'll tell you a little bit off air, and it's kind of a funny story. But I am a Detroit guy. I don't care about LeBron. I still remember when he scored 25 straight against us and what he's done to us. I'm a Detroit guy. I don't congratulate Cleveland. I could care less. All their championship means to me is just a big fat. That's about it. I mean, they won it. Great for them. Okay, you ended the drought. Great for you. How are my Pistons going to improve now that we see what the East looks like? The king of the East is the Cleveland Cavaliers, and how are the Pistons going to do to improve? And maybe we can make a move for Kevin Love, or make a move to pull somebody from that team and lessen them. But it looks like potentially, I don't believe LeBron's going to option and get out and leave Cleveland this year. But maybe the piece that will likely leave is Kevin Love. So we'll see.
I hope he leaves this year.
Lakers probably, I think, is a team that might be the front runner.
Yeah, that's what Stephen A. Smith said. But yeah, more than likely he's going to be there at least one more season. I'd like to see him get back to the finals and lose. Actually, a perfect scenario would be the Thunder get there and the Thunder beat the Cavs.
Listen, LeBron's been to 6 straight finals. The talk is over. He can do whatever the rest of his career. He's a leader. He had a signature moment. He's been an MVP of the finals 3 times. What more do you want the guy to do? Come on, man.
Go back in time and win all the finals that you've been in. Then we can talk.
You're an ultimate LeBron hater. I love it. Love it.
Yep.
I give him a little bit of credit, but I don't care about Cleveland.
Hate.
All right. Now, speaking of the Pistons, who now know that Cleveland's going to be around for a while, fascinating story. They go from 33 wins to the NBA Finals.
If LeBron leaves, they go back to the bottom.
Now Cleveland is the defending NBA champion, the defending Eastern Conference champ. So the Pistons, they make a move. Not too often you see moves in June, but they have acquired Cameron Barstow from the Chicago Bulls in exchange for Spencer Dinwiddie. 6'9" Barstow played 18 games for Chicago last year, averaged 1.9 points in 5.7 minutes. He was drafted in the 2nd round in 2014. A lot of people say he was a great shooter in college, and he's got some international experience, and he's a guy that potentially Stan Van Gundy is tapping as another forward to compete there and make some shots. Your reaction to the June move by the Detroit Pistons?
It doesn't really move the needle for me too much. It's not a really big name. It's another Aussie who I'm sure he'll pair very well with Aaron Baines, and maybe if we pursue Matthew Dellavedova, we can have an Aussie triplet line. But it doesn't really
the Aussie 3.
What Bairstow? I mean, yeah, he's going to be coming off the bench. He's not a starter, and that's who you really. That's who you're really looking for when you're looking at Piston moves. Dinwiddie, he really wasn't producing a whole lot this year, so he's not a huge loss. And until we really see what Bairstow is going to do, I can't really tell what he's going to be. I did with the Pistons. I kind of got talked off the ledge this morning because I was like, the Pistons need to do something. They need to get a superstar on their team to even have any chance to compete in the East if LeBron James stays here. And I went as far as to say that I'm ready to do whatever it takes to get DeMarcus Cousins.
You ready? Oh, good for you.
But I kind of got talked off the ledge, but if it's not Cousins, I don't know. I don't know what the Pistons can do. I think the East is going to be wide open, really, from 2 to 8. It's going to be completely wide open. The Pistons where they can make small moves and they can get better, and they could probably rise up as high as 4th or 3rd in the Eastern Conference.
So tell me, what got you to the point where you want Boogie here in town? I'm fascinated.
It's just we need a superstar and we need scoring, which Andre Drummond, he's not a scorer.
My words have seeped into your consciousness. I like it. What did I say a while back? I yearn for a superstar. Yes, I think that our dreams would be KD, our dreams would be anybody, but maybe Boogie Cousins is the guy. But right now, all the talk is our owner just loves him some Andre Drummond, so I don't know how they're going to pull that off. I don't think the ownership of the Pistons shares your view, King.
I know, and that's probably how
do we move this
Stan
along?
Van Gundy is as well. As long as Stan Van Gundy is here, that's how we're going to be built. We're going to be built kind of how he built up the Magic, where you have a fundamentally solid team, but you don't have a superstar. It's going to be a collection of really good players. Maybe Stanley Johnson becomes more than he is, but that's down the road.
Some people are arguing that we have a superstar. His name is Andre Drummond.
Yeah, but Andre Drummond isn't going to score you 40 points in the finals. He may get 20 rebounds, but he's not going to score you 40 points, and he's going to be out of the game for the majority of the time.
Did you find yourself going, man, Kyrie Irving's just way better than Reggie Jackson?
I think everyone kind of already knew that. He does disappear at times. Obviously, this whole playoffs, he's really been on his game and been shooting the lights out.
Did you think maybe he could have been MVP with that shot, or you knew it was LeBron's all the way?
They're going to give it to LeBron regardless. And Kyrie Irving would have needed to have a better game than LeBron last night. And I think if you had that, then maybe. But because LeBron did what he did, scoring 40 in games 5 and 6, and then going for a triple-double, it's a no-brainer. I don't think there's any way that you could give it to anybody else but LeBron.
Well, King, I summon you to talk sports, and you did a great job.
And you can't teach that.
Well, you can teach that, but
you can.
It's a lot of street smarts.
Can you teach it to one of our podcast hosts who does it a show on Sundays/Mondays?
I can't. No, I can't.
All right. Before we talk Tigers, I just want to take a quick time out and say thank you to everybody that's been downloading our podcast across the various platforms. The support of the network has grown dramatically. The tweets, the engagement, the listens and downloads have been awesome. So thank you. For those of you that are new to the network, we do daily podcasts every single day, and we have great shows, great guests, take phone calls. We do one-on-one specials, and we get a chance to, when news breaks, we talk to the people in the know. So I love doing it. We have great relationships with both radio stations in town. I love being a little tiny factor in Detroit sports. And that's because of the people who download and listen to us on demand, which means that you love a segment, pause it, rewind it, play it again, or if you have to put us down and get to work or do something serious, you can pause us and listen to us on demand. That's what I love about this podcast thing, is that we're on demand, we're available, and you're in control. So thank you for those that have been downloading. The numbers are way up this year, and it makes the project way fun. And some things in the work, Jason, let me tell you, in the work, in the background. So maybe I'll fill you in, maybe I won't, but maybe you'll be surprised like everybody else. Maybe. So thank you. That's all I want to do, is just always say thank you to those who subscribe, download, listen, share, and interact with us across our various platforms. All right, King, as we're recording this, the Tigers are playing a wild-ass game versus the Mariners, game 1 of the series. 5-4 Tigers as we're recording this. So far, Pelfrey was getting rocked early in the game, but the Tigers are winning as we're recording this. So let's not talk about the game anymore, because when we talk about it, it seems like
it's all your fault, John.
It is my fault.
It's all your fault. You were telling me to get excited about the Tigers.
It worked.
And last week, they're over 500. And yeah, I'm like, oh, John, I think I'm about to ready to turn around. And what are they now?
They're under 500.
They're under 500. They're 4.5 back from the lead in the AL Central. Who knows how far back in the wild card? You make me so angry, John.
I'm sorry I did that. You know what?
I was all good being the Tigers are just a 500 team. I'm gonna ride the boat. I'm just gonna ride it until the end of the season.
Jason, do you know what took over? Brad Ausmus's poor managerial choices. Every
Don't blame
situation.
this on Brad Ausmus. This is your fault.
There were situations where he could have made better decisions, and the tough 50-50 calls went against him. And it's just so unfortunate that this is what happens. I mean, look, the prime example is the Hosmer versus Green situation. Green was a right-handed pitcher, and Hosmer was crushing right-handed pitchers. People thought that Brad Ausmus should have went to the lefty that he should have went to the lefty Hardy, and he didn't. Hosmer gets the hit. Again, a problem. And then the fourth game of the series versus KC, you don't bring in K-Rod. He says that, Ryan had a better advantage versus the hitters in that lineup. But did it work out? No. And you don't use your closer in a situation where, you need that game in the series. So I think Brad Ausmus didn't have his best series. He did not make choices that helped the team. And then the issue is, smack dab, the stat is, the bullpen ERA last week, 9.75. It was a cavalcade of a disaster. You called up people, sent down people. Nothing has worked. But there is a little bit of hint of positivity in that. Rondon came in that final game in the series versus KC, and he looked smooth as silk. He was throwing 99 easy. He got through a couple innings. He looked good. His fastball was cruising at 99 and 100. He looked like he lost a couple pounds. And, hey, if he comes up now, it was his first call-up of the year, okay, that's one guy. If Green can sustain some success, you just get rid of guys like Kyle Ryan, Hardy. Go with Wilson, Rondon. Maybe Sanchez can get it together for a couple innings. Hey, you're starting to maybe see what's going on, but it's obvious. Kyle Ryan, Hardy, they're all busts. Keep them down there in the minors. All those guys you keep sending. I don't want. You know what was the funniest thing of the weekend, and it really pissed me off when I started going off on Twitter, was Buck Farmer gets in, last week. And Fox Sports Detroit, which I like them mostly. I like their coverage. They're a good network. But Rod and Mario were just going on and on about Buck Farmer's stats. They were going on about how he's got this and that and this and that. And they were talking him up. And I'm like, seriously? This is a sell job. I mean, that was the first thing I was telling myself. And so I went right to Twitter and I'm like, seriously? They're making out Buck Farmer to be like Trevor Hoffman. And then what happens? I tweeted beforehand. I'm like, Buck Farmer's going to blow this. And he went out there and had a terrible performance. And then he gets optioned down to the minors. So Buck Farmer, stay down there. Kyle Ryan, Hardy. These guys aren't going to do much. Bring up some new guys and let's see what happens.
I tend to disagree. John, I still say that it's your fault. Because when we started talking about this about 5 minutes ago, it was 5-4 Tigers.
Oh, come on.
And it's now, after a Lind home run, it's now 6-5 Mariners. John, it's your fault. Let's stop talking about the Tigers. They're a 500 team. Listen to me, everybody. They're a 500. I feel like Vinny Stubbs right now. I'm just shouting and blaming it on random people. But no, I don't know.
My nephew's at the game right now. He's they were saying
bad for him.
Yeah, he was a little bit upset with Pelfrey. He's 6 years old. He knows that Pelfrey struggles.
Yeah, I mean,
everybody knows.
The P-Man. Ausmus, you can't put it all on him.
What happened? What went down this week with the Tigers?
I mean, we started watching the end of the game yesterday on Father's Day, and yeah, I didn't understand why K-Rod wasn't in. The zombie arm. I don't understand why he wasn't in. And I think it was one of those situations like last year when he's trying to save Alex Wilson for extra innings. It really didn't make sense. You're trying to get one out. You got to hope that I don't know, maybe he's just throwing and trying to stick something on the wall. But when your bats weren't working like they weren't yesterday, I don't know what he can do. I mean, what can Brad Ausmus really do?
What he can do is
he can get fired.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. A lot of people, though, actually are a little bit irritated by people that are saying fire Ausmus. But I'm not going to go down that road. I'm going to calm my nerves. But all you got to look is what's going on around the major sports. Who got fired from the Cleveland Cavaliers? Blatt, midseason. Tyronn Lue comes in, takes over. Bada boom. They start having success. They win it all. Pittsburgh Penguins, they're not satisfied with their head coach. What do? They bring in Mike Sullivan, head coach. What does he do? More speed, change up the play. Mario Lemieux came out and said, hey, I wasn't satisfied with the play. Boom. So join the revolution, baby. You fire Brad Ausmus.
I'm not listening to anything you say anymore, but I guess anything could happen.
If they fire Brad Ausmus, I will say they won the World Series.
I think you're kind of crazy.
No, it's in the air.
Could happen.
It's in the air. It's in the air, Jason. It's just, can you go with fate? Well, can you tempt fate? Can you go out there and make it happen? No.
Anything can happen. If they could have gone out and get a manager that could make them a World Series champion team, they would have done it already. The team that they have is built for success, but for whatever reason, they can't get out of their own way. None of them. We have a team with Miguel Cabrera, Justin Verlander, Victor Martinez should be way better. But it just doesn't make sense.
Remember, you were very close in that series versus KC in that fourth game. You just kind of didn't take advantage of opportunities late. But it was, not a terrible road trip, just a little bit under 500, so it wasn't that bad. It's just what you need is you need to fix the back end of the starters and the bullpen. Once that happens, then you got an offense that can get hot. But the big thing, though, the big news of the weekend, the one that I'm curious to get your opinion about was, will the loss of J.D. Martinez, who fractured his elbow running into the wall there, will that significantly impact the Tigers going forward?
I don't think so. I think you get to see a prolonged look at Steven Moya, which I think that's a complete. That's
got his
a really
first home
good
run
thing.
career. Yeah, smashed it.
I think Moya coming up is a good thing. It obviously hurts when you lose a guy like J.D. Martinez. I don't think you lose a ton defensively though. And who knows? Maybe Steven Moya comes in. And, Cameron Maybin came in and really provided a spark. Maybe Steven Moya finally gets it and actually performs better than what JD Martinez is doing right now.
Well, when you look at the Tigers, all you can say is, how embarrassing is it when you look up and you see Romines pitching and he's up there and he's actually getting guys out better than your relievers? Isn't that probably the ultimate embarrassment? How is it that it's not just happened once? It's happened now on a couple of occasions where Brad Ausmus's bullpen has been taxed because the starters haven't done their job, and boom, you go to the bullpen, you wear them out, and now you got to go to Andrew Romine? Come on now. And he's spitting up there going 90, 92 miles an hour. That was a nationally televised game on Saturday, I believe. So that was kind of embarrassing, and, you just know that Sparky Anderson would have never did anything like that. He would never had to. He just would have let, what? If you're going to give up 15 runs, go ahead and do it, whatever. Not going to use it in a position player. How embarrassing, right?
Yeah, I would have just left Lowe in there. Let him just finish it out. You're gonna run into a ground ball somewhere. But whatever. You got the out. So and I think it's if anything, it's funny to see Andrew Romine go out there and get two guys out.
Yeah. So are you saying that, you hopped on the bandwagon for all of 4 seconds, forget it, you're jumping way off, just jump off and be like,
I'm not saying I'm off the bandwagon. I'm off your crazy train.
What?
I'm back on my 500 roll.
That's what I said I said that get excited that they're going to make moves. They're going to make moves. I would say I am frustrated that they're playing this way. I am frustrated that, they kind of sold us a bill of goods with this bullpen. They sold us some things that haven't happened, but they definitely will not stand pat. They're going to make moves. I know it. I feel it. They're going to add to this team, and then this could be a Cinderella team. I'm going to maintain some hope that this could be a team that takes off maybe in the second half of the year, but I would hope maybe they do it without their current manager.
Well, until they make those moves, I will be standing in my 500 even keel rowing boat.
Do you see 500 the rest of this week with a series versus Seattle at home and then a series versus Cleveland, a team that we haven't beaten yet this year?
I could see them. I see them getting back to 500 by the next time we get that we have this podcast. They're going to be 500.
They're going to be 500.
Write it down.
Okay.
Now, I actually want to ask you about something. Tomorrow, when this podcast is actually out, the United States is going to be in the semifinals of Copa America against Argentina.
Taping it, yeah.
Lionel Messi.
Yeah, it's done. We're done.
Do you think we have any? Is there any chance?
Yeah,
Jermaine Jones.
Yeah,
and another guy.
They appealed because of their red card, and I saw at the gym today that
you go to the gym.
I do go to the gym. I have to now. Remember, I'm on a new plan. I flunked my physical, so they appealed their red card. It didn't go down. They're out. It's Argentina. It's a world class team. Lionel Messi. he's been a little bit informed, so I would say you're going to look at a close game, probably be 0-0 in the first half. Argentina will come out in the second half and do their business, and it's just, I don't think the USA is on the level of Argentina.
I don't know. I have a feeling.
You believe that they will win?
I believe that they will win.
Good for you.
They're going to go to the finals, and I want them to win. I want them to win this. I want the
Why not?
United States men's soccer team to actually do good.
I do too. I cheer for them. I watch them. I think though, what you're going to see, and the general complaint is that midfield is not good enough to compete right now. It's not too many turnovers. They're not playing as well. And Jurgen Klinsmann's on the hot seat. He's kind of plateaued in terms of fanfare, and a lot of people who are, big soccer fans are like, Klinsmann might need to get sacked.
I don't know. I think if they at least have a decent showing against Argentina, he's probably bought himself another couple months.
Sack Jurgen.
What do you think final score tomorrow?
2-0 Argentina.
Ouch. I'm going 1-0 USA. USA.
Okay, very good for you, sir. And to wrap it up, we had asked last week if you needed one pitcher to do some damage in one game for the Tigers, whether it be Zimmerman, Fulmer, Verlander. You were very correct, ever so slightly. The poll results indicated 45% want JV for that one game if it's a must-win, 40% for Fulmer. So you were absolutely right. The fans on our Twitter page, @Detroit Podcast, they voted with the king. And
very,
you were right.
very close.
Smart guys, right?
Yes, very smart.
All right, what are you going to do when you get the hell out of here? What are you going to do?
I'm probably going to go get some dinner.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to veg out in front of the TV. Go back to the radio station tomorrow.
Very good.
Try to stay cool.
That's right.
What about you? What are you doing?
I'm going to go home. I'm going to
watch some more wrestling.
I'm going to definitely finish out Raw, and then what's going to happen is after Raw on the WWE Network, the guy with the microphone, AJ Styles, is going to sit down with Stone Cold Steve Austin and do a podcast. What they do is now they do these specials a couple times a year where after shows like this on the network, they'll sit down and do like what we do, sit and chat sports, and they do a live podcast, and I definitely like it. And Mr. AJ Styles will be on it. I'll watch that, put this fine podcast together, air it, and then I'm probably, what I'm going to do? Hate to say it. CNN Fox guy. I watch news for a couple hours, be in bed by 4 a.m.
That's ridiculous. Is it still real to you, damn it?
It's not real. It's very entertaining. And I like this. You know why? Because it's kind of like what I do here, a little bit of an amped up version of me. Because you know me, I'm a mild-mannered kind of quiet kind of guy. But if you get me to talk sports, I might text some radio stations, not get named and get credit. Or I might.
I know when you don't spell asterisk right.
Listen, that was funny, though. I laughed. I was like, that's my weakness. I was an A student. My weakness was English.
Spelling.
2 funny stories with my academic career before we get out of here. I was an all-A student except for English and stuff like that, and I was an all-A student in grad school except for one subject.
English.
Ethics.
And you're a psychologist now.
All-A student. And I got a C in no, because it was really true. The teacher hated me because I was reading a passage and it had some funny words, and I don't know, sexual of nature, or it was something inappropriate. And I just laughed my way through it. I couldn't stop laughing, and she was looking at me like, "Why are you laughing?" And I like literally chuckled. When you try to not to laugh and you're just laughing. I just read it and I was in a good mood. I started laughing, and I just forget it. It was a class that I didn't do good.
Was
in.
the word gonads?
No, probably something else.
That always made me laugh.
Probably like don't seduce your clients, don't do that, don't hit on people. Ethics.
That would be bad for you.
But so far so good. I'm very ethical kind of guy. You know that.
Well, we'll have to wait.
Detroit is a great.
We'll have to wait and see if you actually are that ethical. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Motor City Sports Rant. I am Jason Jarvie. Follow me on Twitter @Jarvie the King. He is the Doc John Macaroon. Follow you at
Detroit Podcast, the best Twitter site in Detroit, hands down.
We'll see you later.
Okay, nice idiot. You. Bye-bye.
Good day, sir. I said good day.
All right. Take care now. Bye-bye then.
Loser.